We just want to write.
Hello, Authorland. Thank you for joining us today. If you're tuning in here from the start, you heard a great little line there from Dori. And the reason why we're doing this series on the author platform and marketing is because it's a part that many authors really don't like, and they really just want to get to writing. But then building their author platform and finding ways to market the book is really important to being successful. So we opened up this series to introduce some of the things that our authors do. And today what we're going to be talking about are inexpensive and or free ways that you can market your book. A lot of authors think that marketing has to cost money, and you can spend a lot of money, but that isn't always the most effective way to necessarily build your audience or to get your book out there or to find your readers. So how are you today, Dori?
I'm doing all right. Hope you are.
Yeah, it's a small platform today. A lot of our authors have school activities or have just come back from vacations. So it's just going to be you and I. It's going to be a little intimate today.
I wish I had coffee now.
I'll drink enough. I'll drink enough for both of us this morning. So when we were getting to hang out live here, you were saying, I don't know how good I'm going to be on this conversation because I just want to write. So,
that's correct.
Yeah, and that's something that a lot of authors feel. So kind of talk me through that a little bit. I want to know some of your challenges because you are actually really, really good at what you do as far as your author platform, finding readers, getting your book out there. Your website is always top-notch up to date. You're writing great blogs, you're experimenting, you're running your Twitter, your Facebook, and your Facebook just constantly grows and grows and grows. So from somebody who says that they just want to write, they don't like the marketing end of it, how are you finding it actually being so successful with the start of your platform?
Well, I would say that the platform part of it is just constantly a learning process. One of the ways that I have built, like for example, my Facebook page, was I subscribed to a couple of Facebook groups that were for writers. And in particular, mostly indie authors and people who are trying to figure out this whole social media thing and submitting your writing and contests and all those kinds of things that writers that are new to it are trying to figure out. And one of the things that they do is they have Like My Page Day. And so you put your page up on the I guess it's a Facebook group, and you post your page and people like it. And then you like theirs back, and it's actually a good way to interact with other authors through their pages. And so when they like your page, they will see that you posted something that you may have found interesting about writing in general, or something that you're doing, or asking for feedback on your book cover, for example. And people who are also in the same boat as you will respond and interact with you in that way. So I would say that a lot of my building on Facebook has been, I've been trying to get readers to like my page and follow what I'm doing, but a lot of it are other writers and authors who are interacting with me and learning with me through that particular platform.
That's great. And I would say that other authors, it might be one of the most underutilized categories that authors actually use. So I would dare to say that the two areas that I wish more authors would use to build their platform are other authors, because you're all in the same boat, and book bloggers. A lot of authors don't connect with book bloggers or seek reviewers, or they just send out kind of like dummy templates to the book bloggers that don't feel unique or personal, so they don't build that connection. Do you connect with any book bloggers on your Facebook?
I have not. I would say that I don't believe anyone has contacted me through Facebook that's a book blogger. Most of the, I did like a lot of book blogger pages, and I would go through the process of following their instructions on how to submit a request to get a review from them. But a lot of them I seem to be so overwhelmed with requests that they just say, oh, we're not taking any new requests, or they never get back to you. And so one thing that I had been focusing on is maybe some smaller forums that will review my book, and at least leave a review on Amazon and Goodreads, if nothing else. And then some of them might have a BookTube page that they're just trying to get started. Some of them they might have a small Twitter following, but at least if they agree to do an Amazon or a Goodreads review, that at least gets some kind of reviews that you can use in your own marketing, and then, just to build on the review base that you have. If you cannot connect with larger book bloggers, if you're having a hard time doing that, you just start with the smaller ones and build from there.
Exactly. And we did have an author one time who, when we were doing book blog outreach, would go through and check the page ranks of every book blogger. And if they weren't at a certain website level or traffic level, they would say, I don't care if they want to read my book. They don't get it because they're not good enough. Little air quotes are back. I haven't done those in a few episodes. I'll try to not do those. And I kind of felt like that was not the right way to approach book blogs, because everybody starts from somewhere. And especially as small scale authors, we start at a level where we're not immediately recognizable. There are a lot of people out there who have no idea who Pen Name Publishing or French Press Bookworks is. So I'm kind of the mindset that every person that says, I want to read your book, I have a book blog, no matter how new, how old, how big, how small, as long as they're willing to read it and give an honest review of their feelings, that it's a plus. And I also think that a lot of authors give up on book blogs because what we've seen is for you get about 10% of the actual book blogs that you request or send a query to, who will say, yes, I want to read your book. And of that 10%, maybe 4 or 5% of that will actually leave the review. So the margin for finding the book bloggers versus actually getting the review is kind of small, but it's still worthwhile. And I think when you got your reader's favorite 5-star review, that was not only amazing, but it really picked up the interest in the book too. So that kind of shows how just one really good quality review can totally change the potential for the book. So reviews are super powerful, but they don't just come without actively seeking them, which I think is something that a lot of indie authors will struggle with a little bit. Part of today's talk, what we wanted to do with the full panel was ask you guys to give tips for low cost or free marketing ideas, because we tell you guys in the great wide world of everything we tell you to do 7 things every day to market your book. And the first time I brought this up, people were like, who has time for 7 things every single day? We have day jobs, we have kids, we have husbands, we have wives, we have houses, we have dogs. And that was the whole point of bringing this up, is it doesn't have to cost money. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. And it can be really easy to do if you just find 7 things every day and then maybe kind of doctor it a little bit. So let's start with, I know you made a list of 5. I'm going to make you go. Let's go one by one. What's your first?
Okay. Well, the first thing that I thought about was just making sure that you discipline yourself to interact on your social media accounts each day. I know some people abhor certain social media and tend to gravitate toward others. And obviously you want to build and work with what you are most comfortable with, but it is important to give some attention to each platform that you're on each day, and find out what what works with actually marketing the book and then just interacting with people, trying to find, because you're always marketing yourself, which then markets your book generic, or what is the right word, organically. Haven't heard that word in a while. But that's, I mean, that's what you're doing. So, you know, you are marketing your book when you're marketing yourself. So if you are having some interaction with other people, whether they're other authors or whether they are readers or book bloggers or just some random person, you are constantly marketing what you're putting out there into the void that is social media. So paying attention and giving it some attention each day is my first tip.
I think that's such a great tip, because something that always kind of throws me off is how authors don't approach their personal marketing in the ways that they want to be marketed to. And so sometimes when I'm doing like one-on-one coaching calls with authors, I talk to them and I say, what is your favorite marketing campaign that you've either been a part of or that you've seen? And it always comes down to something silly like a Twitter campaign where Taco Bell was talking to people. And I'm like, well, do you interact with people on your Twitter? You know, do you spend time to talk to them, or do you just put out regular tweets? And a lot of times when people are struggling with social media and social media growth, the problem comes down to the fact that they're not being interactive with their fans. So they look like robots. It doesn't look personal, and they don't offer a benefit to their audience. So I like to tell people, when you're doing your social media content, to make it 20% about your book and 80% about anything else, sharing fun articles, retweeting people. We have some really fun followers on Pen Name Publishing, and we're constantly sending like GIFs to each other. I didn't even really know what a GIF was until Mike Hansen came on board. So it's so silly little things like that that have helped us build some loyal followers and really have fun with it. So that is an excellent point, and I'm so glad that that's your number one, because you can do that in 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. Just say hi to, if you're struggling with this, say hi to 2 or 3 people, leave a comment on a book blog, or get on your Facebook page. And if somebody likes it, say, hey, thanks for liking it. Something as simple as that. So excellent first point. What's your number 2?
The second thing that I think is really important is that you need to write. You need to write every day, even if it's completely irrelevant to anything. It's important to just do it. It could be something like a poem, or it could be a blog post, or starting a blog post. You could just get like a paragraph done in a draft. If it's something related to your job, your day job, or anything like that, is really important to just write each and every day. And that might not be necessarily marketing your book, but it is continuing to keep you in, God, I hate this word too, craft, keep you in the craft, so to speak. It keeps you exercising your writing muscles, even just a little bit.
That is another really valuable tip, because if you're writing every day, what you're doing is you're putting content out. And anytime that you have content out, whether it's on your blog, or if it's just something that you put on your website, or if it's something that you put on Facebook, or there's a lot of authors who do Instagram quips of their writing, it's stationary content that somebody can find at any time. So one of the downfalls with just basing a Twitter platform is Twitter goes so quick. So the average life of a tweet is 2 minutes. And when that tweet is gone, unless somebody has retweeted it, its life is pretty much dead. So if you're writing, you're a writer, you probably love writing in some form, but you're creating content that is searchable, indexable, that you can actually use in your social media to send people back to your website, and just enjoying it, having fun. So part of promoting, and I hate to use that term too, because I like to look at marketing as building yourself and improving on your craft and creating a stronger author persona, not just being like, buy my book,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't work. It doesn't work. You know, how many times have you clicked on a Twitter ad where somebody's like, buy my book on Amazon? I've never done it. So if you've never clicked on it, you know, it's not going to work. But
I don't know why I'm still doing that. I know it doesn't work, but I feel like I'm accomplishing something if I have it out there. So I guess it's just a mental game with me.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess you never know. Maybe someone will eventually click on that buy my book link after following you for long enough. So it, you know, it always works to at least try everything. But that's such an excellent point about writing, is sometimes some authors get so caught up in the dream of trying to make it that they don't just follow their passion and keep writing. So writing can be a very useful tool for your author platform. Excellent. What was your number 3 tip for authors for free or low cost options to help improve their platform?
Well, my third one was that you commit yourself to trying to make a contact with a free or low cost service of some sort that will help you get that stationary content out there. For example, I had contacted a podcast or a radio show to see if I could get on their show. And once you get yourself on a show, you have that audio or that written interview on a different website or anything else that you can get your writing out there with, whether it be an online magazine or that you submit something to, or a book blogger who you contact who agrees to review your book. As long as you can make a contact each day or just an email, and sometimes they'll respond, and most of the time you might get a no, but at least they responded, and then you can keep at them later on. But just getting that contact and committing to it, it gets you in a flow where you're reaching out, you're asking somebody else to do this free thing for you, but you're helping them too, because they need your stuff for their site, because they put interviews on their site, or they have a show that they need interviewees for. And so, like you were talking about earlier, it helps you have that stationary content out there, and then you can put that on your website, and it's out there. So you don't have to, it's just another way to reach out and to promote yourself and what you're trying to talk about through your writing. And so that's what it is. It's just making that contact, and just one email maybe, or one website who's asking for somebody and submitting the form to do it.
Yeah. And what's really good about this point, Dori, is when you're looking at podcasts or radio shows or even blogs, it's no longer just about your audience. You now have the opportunity to leverage the audience of what somebody else has built. So anytime that you can expand from your reader base and touch somebody else's reader base, whether it is through the podcast, whether it is through a guest blog, an interview, anything like that, you're stepping out of your reader base and grabbing the attention of someone else's and letting other people know, this is me, this is what I'm about. So that's absolutely excellent. One resource that we really like, that we share a lot with our authors, is radioguestlist.com, and it's podcasts and radio shows that are actively looking for guests. And another thing that you said earlier in your last tip was maybe write even about work. And something that authors, I feel, don't do enough is look at what they're good at and step off of their book for a minute. And if they like baking, start writing guest blogs about baking, because then people might like that recipe that they find on another website and follow that author back to their website from that guest post that they did. Or we have a lot of authors who are in the tech field, and like I myself, my master's was in user experience, UX design. So I write a lot of freelance articles on UX, and that has nothing to do with pen name publishing or the books that I'm writing. We all know how that I'm like the queen of the works in progress here. So, it has nothing to do with those, but on the off chance that somebody might read that and then find their way back to us, I'm willing to take that 5% chance. So if you are in some sort of professional field, whether it's working retail, whether it's, like you're in the legal field, anything that you feel you like, write on it. And then that will get you a whole new audience and a whole new sector and leverage new people for you. Competitive sports, football. We have an author who would write freelance articles about fantasy football. And that brought in people, and they were writing, YA romance. So who would have thought that fantasy football articles would increase, YA romance? So anytime that you can leverage any platform outside of your own. And like Dori said, just one email could get you that one interview that might find you a few new fans. So that's really great. I love that tip. What is your next tip? You're doing great.
Well, yeah. Another tip that I have, and it's extremely tedious and I hate it, but it's necessary. My understanding is that when you get to 50 reviews on Amazon, you get a little bit more exposure, or your book gets a little bit more exposure on Amazon once you get to 50 reviews. And that's something that's always stuck with me, that 50 is a magic number. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to matter how many books you sell and how many people that know you that buy your book. You cannot get people to leave a review on Amazon without asking them and reminding them and pestering them about it. But it's one of those things where people are happy to do it, but they just forget about it. And so you kind of have to be on that all the time. And so if your sister's niece's cousin said they're going to leave a review on Amazon, and then a few days go by and there's no review, then you have to reach out and you have to say, hey, did you leave that review on Amazon? And you just have to be on that, because 50 is a number that I'm personally been trying to build. And I mean, even asking relatives and people who have read my book, and just getting them to do it. It's just tedious, but it's really hard to do. And I'll give you a good example. There is a man I met, an author I met last week, and he was one of these guys who just thought because he wrote a book, everybody would want to read it. And but he has like no platform. He's a little bit older, and so he comes from a different generation, where he just thinks that authors are this rare species. And I'm just kind of like, no, we're everywhere now. And he is a self-published author through Amazon. So I looked up his book for him on Amazon, and he did not have any reviews, but he had all of these wonderful reviews in his book from Kirkus and all of these big, he paid for it, but I'm just saying, big name reviews. And then he reviews stuff for some academic press. And he has all these wonderful reviews inside the cover of his book and on the outside jacket, but he has no Amazon reviews, and he is an Amazon author, literally. So I told him, I said, you have to ask people to leave a review on your Amazon page. And he just looked at me like, well, I don't really even know what that means. How do you do that? And, he has a long way to go, but he has all these wonderful reviews, but nobody's reading his book because, well, not nobody's reading his book, but nobody's leaving a review. So other than the people who know him, don't know his book's out there.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's what I'm just trying to say. It's a tedious process, and you have to ask people to go out of their way to do it. But if you just tell them, look, it takes 2 minutes. You log on, you leave whatever you think. It can even suck. You can even say this book is awful. Don't ever read this author. But it's a review, right? And yes. And it counts. So hopefully they won't write that. And I guess I wouldn't want anyone to say that. But the point is that you do need to pay attention, and you need to build it up each day and ask and be after people who say they're going to, and ensure that they do.
And In terms of bad reviews, some authors really get frustrated with 2-star reviews or 1-star reviews, but the trick to being okay with those is to look at what the reviewer is saying. So sometimes people review a book and say, I'm giving this book 1 star because it moved too slow, or I'm giving this book 2 stars because, you know, the sex wasn't raunchy enough. And that actually does happen a lot. And some people might see those 1 and 2-star reviews and be like, oh, great, you know, this book isn't raunchy, or I like a slower paced, more thoughtful book. So there can be good in the bad reviews, because someone's bad review might be somebody's what they like to read. So even if you get a bad review, still love it, because it still counts towards your 50 on Amazon, which gets you into their newsletter, their featured books, and other content that they put out to their audience. So once you get those 50 reviews, that is a way to leverage the Amazon audience. And I just looked at you and you're at 43 reviews. So we're almost there. It feels like, do you feel like now though that they're coming in more frequently because more people are talking about Scout's Honor? So you're starting to see them, and book reviews and blog reviews pop up more frequently now.
Yeah, I think that the Amazon ones specifically have slowed down. Like, I've had to be after some people to write their review, and I do know of a couple who said they're going to and they haven't. So within the next 2 days, they'll be getting a text or an email saying, hey. But yeah, I guess because I'm getting so close to 50, I'm getting a little antsy about it, because it is something that I've been working on. But you don't want to be a pest either. You don't want to turn people off.
No.
So it's usually people I know that that just know me, and so they'll put up with it. But
yeah, some things that some authors do to get the reviews, leveraging your mailing list is really great. And I know even saying email list makes a lot of authors cringe harder than saying author platform or marketing. So we might have a future episode about the email list. So if you have questions about building your email list, creating an email list, tweet those to us or email those to me, and we'll include those in a future episode. But you can leverage your email list. And something that some other authors do that I'm kind of on the fence about is to hold giveaways. So they, a lot of female authors will buy like nail polish or lip gloss that reflects the cover of their book, and a gift card and some pins, and put together a package and say, okay, to win this giveaway and this signed copy, you have to leave a review, send me a copy of the review. I'll put your name into this, like my Facebook page. And so that does work for a lot of people. But then sometimes the reviews end up looking fake. So I think it really depends on what you're comfortable with as far as having authentic reviews, how hard you want to push on people, and how far you can push, because you definitely don't want to turn people off. And a lot of indie authors, they're either very gung-ho and in your face all the time, or they're very not in your face at all, like the person you were talking about earlier that you're never going to find. So it's kind of about, I hate to sound so blunt about it, but a lot of people who say, my book didn't sell, it comes down to personal accountability. And then also you have to figure out that sales aren't everything at first. You can't base your worth as an author solely based on sales, even though having a paycheck is nice. We love the paychecks. But if you find readers, those readers will eventually, with patience and cultivation and time, turn into dollars. So part of that too, I guess one of my little tips for authors would be, before you start, is to create a business plan and figure out what it is that you want. Do you want a steady career where you have readers and fans and you cultivate relationships, or are you just looking for money? Because if you're just looking for money, then you're going to be marketing different than if you're looking for long-term success. And you also have to figure out how much time you can dedicate and what your budget is. And a lot of authors don't track their budget, and then it gets frustrating, because then they're like, oh my gosh, I've spent all this money. Whereas if you have a business plan and you start to track it, you'll realize more what's working, what's not working, where your time is going, what's being successful, and you'll be able to bring that ship up and see better results. Yeah, so tip number 5, your final tip, what have you got for us?
Well, it's a little bit more of a physical thing where you leave your work wherever you go. I know this is probably not a guy thing to do, but like bookmarks. Um, when I had my bookmarks made, I was very excited to get them. And people would joke to me, "Oh, now you're a real author because you have a bookmark." Didn't even need the book, I just needed the bookmark. And but bookmarks, and some people that I see have these little postcards. I know some of the authors are using those one cards to hand out when they do events. But those kinds of little pieces of your book are good to leave behind wherever you go. If you go on a trip, if you go on vacation, if you go to an airport, it's good to leave a couple of bookmarks laying around, because somebody will probably pick it up and be like, what's this? The doctor's office is a perfect place to leave bookmarks. And then asking, I live in a small town. And so a lot of the shops that are in my town are mom and pop and unique kinds of establishments. And so they are very supportive of locally based types of people, and especially artists. And so, you can just walk in and say, "Hey, is it okay if I leave a little stack of bookmarks here next to, these other things that you have here at your checkout counter?" Especially if they're a place where there might be other books there, or a coffee shop or something like that. You kind of want to make it match the establishment a little bit. A toy store might be a little weird, but there's a lot of moms that go into the toy store, right? And moms read. So, but what I'm trying to say is just leave your work physically behind places that you go. And you never know who's going to pick up that bookmark or that postcard and buy them. They either download it or order a paperback and then leave a review for you. And and they might look up your website and come to a reading or to something that you're doing locally. And so that's my other tip.
I love this tip because bookmarks are easily made. You can use Vistaprint, overnight prints, places like this to get a large quantity of bookmarks for relatively inexpensive. And if you sign up for the Vistaprint email list, sometimes they'll send out free coupons, and all you have to do is pay for shipping. So for authors that are on a budget and might not be too concerned with having like heavy quality, I think we've all used Vistaprint at one time in our life and know that it's quick printing and it's what you get from it. But for $8, if you get 1,000 bookmarks that you can leave at places, I started laughing really hard because we have one author who goes into bookstores and puts her bookmark into random books. So when people buy that book, they get home and her bookmark falls out. I don't know how good of an idea that is in case you tick off a bookstore manager, but we have another author who will go into bookstores, major chain stores that might not carry her book in store yet, and she will ask them, I'm in your system, you don't carry my physical copies, but can I leave my bookmark at your checkout desk? And Barnes & Noble told her yes. By all means, please do. You're a local author. We would love to support you. And if it helps you and your sales get to a certain point, then we'll welcome your book into the store. Because what a lot of indie authors don't know is for small books and small presses, to get into a Barnes & Noble store is very difficult. They look at reviews on other websites, and they've asked us multiple times for 6 months of sales data on some books to get that book into the store. So if you forge that relationship and you go into the bookstores and you're polite with the manager, you have a really good chance of letting them put your bookmark in there or getting your book on the shelf. So little things like that. Those are 5 excellent tips, Dori. Thank you for sharing. I hope that our viewers have found those helpful. So if you have further tips, you can follow us on French Press Bookworks on Twitter at FP Bookworks. You can send me an email, Dion at Pen Name Publishing. You can also chat with Dori live on her website. I'm going to give her the moment to tell you what those are here in 1 second. My number is free or low cost. And we've talked about a lot of overlook well-being while they're working through this process, and they get really stressed. So you have to take care of yourself, and you have to really understand yourself to create your platform. So what I advise all authors to do is sit down and write a list of what you're willing to do, what you're willing to not do, where your comfort zones are within your comfort zones. Find the platform pieces that make you happy and focus your energy into those, because it to put your energy into joy. But it's going to cost a lot of your happiness, your time, and your energy if you focus on pieces that you don't like. Like if you hate Facebook, then just don't focus on that. Focus on something else. If you hate in-person interviews, then don't do the in-person interviews. Look for other options, and don't let your frustration overwhelm you, because once you get frustrated, you're going to give up, and then writing no longer becomes fun, but it becomes a chore, and it takes that passion out of it, and your readers will notice. So on top of the 5 great tips from Dori, that's my, why don't you tell our viewers how they can get a hold of you, and maybe ask you some more questions about your platform and your marketing. You do excel at what you do.
Sure. My website is Dori Ann Dupre, DoriAnndupre.com, and you can contact me through my website at the email there. You can find me on Facebook. My author page is Dori Ann Dupre on Facebook, and my Twitter handle is the same, Dori Ann Dupre. I'm also on Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, and Blogger. I have a blog where I do primarily indie author book reviews, but you can also contact me through my blog. So yeah, I'm more than willing to answer any questions about things that I've learned throughout this process of building an author platform. Hello.
My internet is going out, so
oh no.
Thank you. Please reach out to Dori. Authors do, and so do we. We're going to have some great authors coming up here soon on the new French Press Bookworks. If you have not been there yet, go ahead and check it out. We have just started a group. It is on Slack, which is a kind of chat channel. So you can join our writing group for free on FrenchPressBookworks.com. We also have a new vendor marketplace that has started where professionals are going to be giving cover design, formatting, editing, writing costs and experiences and levels for authors. So if you are a professional in one of those fields, you can also open up your own store and get your services in front of authors out there who need you. So head over to French Press Bookworks, check that out, join our writing group, and chat with us live on social media for more of your marketing questions. So next week we'll be back with a new panel for segment 3 of our 4-part series on your author platform. If you're curious about future author roundtables, you can find the listing for those as well at FrenchPressBookworks.com/author-roundtable. So have a great week. Thanks for hanging out tonight, this morning, if you're on my part of the world. And thanks for hanging out with us, Dori. You gave great tips, and I hope authors reach out to you, find a little bit more about some help.
Great. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Have a good day. Good night, everyone. See you next week.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.